This is the origin story. We can go check out Camp Blackie, Plimpton, Wyoming. Small little hamlet, a couple thousand people. I moved there from London when I was 2, and we still have the house today. It's derelict, but we can go to the outside and take a look at it. It still stands. It's the one house from the beach. It's a beautiful little cottage. When I say beautiful, I mean the area. The inside is like disgusting, like bats. The outside is very nice. The neighbors are very well to do. And then we'll go there first. That's what I'm thinking. Check that out. Maybe we'll go on the beach and have a swim, the old days. The water levels are really high this year on Lake Huron, and most of the beaches are gone. It's pretty wild. This is a familiar country road. I used to go down here to my high school, down that country road. You go 100 down this country road, and this one here you blast down like 110. I should slow down to like 120 right now, but I think the speed limit's 80. Anyway, these are my stomping grounds. I got my first car at 16. I needed the independence to get away from home and to do my own thing. Started the financial independence adulthood journey. Mobility was key for me in changing my life. Getting my car at 16 was worth every penny. I had to work at Tim Hortons to pay for it, pay for insurance and gas and all that. But it really changed my life in a big way. Being stuck at home in a crappy house versus being able to drive around, and no one knows where you grew up when you're driving around. They don't know you have a poor house, you can't have friends over. They don't know where you grew up. So you get to put on a clean pair of clothes, and that's the beauty. You get to, you put on a clean pair of clothes, no one knows your background. You can work for you and kind of against you or for you. A lot of multi-millionaires you'll meet just look average. You have an average cheap shirt and a pair of jeans on, millionaire next doors. And the same thing was true when I was a kid. It's like, it worked for me the other way. It was like no one knew I was poor, no one knew where I came from. And I was just this sharp, young lad, dressed clean. We're going on this street down here first. Right? It's this street here. This is the one. It's all the way down where I grew up. Every real estate investor, personal finance guru out there has an origin story. And most people have fabricated their story to make it sound better, to certain extents. People use the immigrant story, you see a lot of that. People explain where they grew up poor. I have a similar origin story. Growing up poor, having a rough go of it. It's interesting. You've got like the two camps. You've got the people who were raised with, and most likely what you'll see is the people who were raised with dentist and doctor parents, raised wealthy, middle class, the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, the Bill Gates of the world. All those people were actually born affluent. You very rarely see a billionaire that grew up really poor. But it's interesting. You study a lot of those people that have the origin story that is very rough. And what I see, the recurring theme of those people that are successful is this intense drive and hunger. So I think in 99% of the situations, you grew up the way I did, and you end up on drugs in the east end of the city, and you end up a loser. But the 1%, it's like under pressure, the coal either cracks, becomes dust, or pressure creates diamonds. And I think that you'll see some people who are born that way, into that harder lifestyle, they end up becoming superstars because they're used to the pressure their whole lives. And it creates this hunger in the belly that you can't fabricate. If you grew up rich, it's hard to fabricate that or simulate that real hunger and knowing what it's like to actually be hungry for a meal, right? And I think that's a big piece of why I still grind today, why I can't stop, why I can't stay retired, is because I've always felt like I had to struggle to get by. And that survival instinct in you doesn't just go away when you have money. Money really, it amplifies. It doesn't change a person, I don't think. It makes life easier. It's like, it's a lubricant, but it doesn't change who you are. In a lot of ways, I think when you get past a certain amount of money, it really doesn't have an impact on your life in a big way. Like you have $2 million, $3 million, or $10 million, or $100 million. It's really not life changing. You can do a lot of the same things. And I was actually doing a radio show this morning, or this afternoon at noon. We were talking about on the show wealth versus being rich versus wealthy. It was interesting. That rich is basically that you have money, but you don't have passive income, you don't have freedom. And wealth is something where you have passive income coming in, and you've got, it's sort of sustainable, as I guess the word. Like someone who's rich doesn't have sustainable money. Someone who's wealthy has sustainable money. Sustainable money is like where your earn rate is greater than your burn rate. You're bringing in more passive income than you're spending. And so it is all relative to what you're spending. You could be wealthy with $1 million. You could also be rich with $1 million and have to grind. Like there are dentists and doctors who spend $200,000-$300,000 a year and they earn $200,000-$300,000 a year and they're near broke. They're rich in the sense that they have great incomes, but they have no passive income. And if something happens to them, tomorrow it's done, right? If something happens to me, my income's the same if I'm dead, pretty much. My properties continue to cash flow, things go on, with or without me. So it's interesting. I used to have friends live. These are all new builds. It's interesting because I remember growing up and hanging out at friends' houses and things like that. And now seeing this all being developed. This is all farmland. You see on the right and the left, some really nice houses here. That's a really nice house. There are a bunch of them built. Kids playing on the field. There's a stop sign here now. I say this is where I grew up, but honestly, I grew up in Sarnia. I came back here when I was maybe 12. I went to live with my mom. Again, my mom got custody of us. So I lived here from when I was like 1.5, 2 till I was like 4. And then from when I was like 12 till 16, 17, I basically moved out on my own. Effectively went to live with my girlfriend, who's now my wife. And at 17, I went off to university in London and I never came back for summers or anything like that. Some kids would go back for summers, but for me, it was more appealing to do my own thing. Back there we passed, I didn't find out there was a school, Arrow Village. I went to that school. Kindergarten. And then I moved schools again. And I moved schools again to Petrolia. And then I went to Lorne Ave in London for a little bit when I lived with my dad for grade 5 or 6, and then moved back. This is all so different. It's crazy. Different yet the same. You can see actually it's a decent area actually overall. From when I was 12 to when I was 17, I lived in a relatively good area. Our house was the worst house in the best neighborhood, which actually allowed me to have really great friends. I couldn't have them over, and it made fun of me for being poor. But I got to see how the wealthy live, how they act. So, despite being out of place, my neighbors are fairly well-to-do. The houses are all relatively nice. They all have like fronting onto the beach. We actually grew up in a relatively good area, despite our house being the worst house internally that I've ever. Sarnia was rough. Like we rented in Sarnia, and that was rough. We moved around like 10 times. But it's actually for sale. This cottage here. It's the outside actually doesn't look too bad. You know, it's got a leaky roof or whatever, but it's not the worst. I planted this tree when I was 17. It's my graduation tree. Of course, we were smart enough to plant it right above the power line, so that's gonna be fun when this gets big. But yeah, this tree is a little sapling when I graduated high school. Pretty wild how it's now like 30 feet tall. Things have overgrown a bit. I don't want to go in. We can't go in. Yep. If smells could talk, this was the cottage we grew up in. 600 square foot cottage. The reason I call this home, even though I moved around a dozen times, is because of any place I ever lived, this was the place I stayed the longest. Like I lived here from when I was 2 to when I was 4. And then my mom lost custody, went to live with a step parent. And then I moved back here, like I said, when I was 12. I lived here till I was almost 17. So that's, 7 years. If you add 2 years into 5 years. So this is the place I lived the longest in my life, 7 years in one location. It's the reason I probably move now a lot is because as a kid I moved around a ton. It's interesting, on the roof, there's still a tar can. We tried to fix a roof leak a decade ago. And the tar cans, the tar leaked out. You can go see over there. It leaked out and it got stuck to the roof. And literally, like, you have to rip the roof off to get that tar can off. There's another one on the other higher roof too. Great location, great neighbors overall. You can go down to the beach and check it out. So as a kid, this beach here that we're on used to extend way past those rocks. There was sand like 10 feet out past those rocks. Now the water's come up so high, it's crazy. You can be able to walk along the beach both ways for like 20 miles down the coast. 20 miles down the coast. It's not the blue water I was hoping for. It's really nasty today. When it's clear, it's amazing. Both ways might be fun to swim in though. If you're down. That's Rosehart for you.
That is most certainly Rosehart for you.